Everyone. My name's Katie and I'll be the moderator today. I'm just going into my fourth year at Commerce in Dalhousie, and I'm really excited to be able to answer some of the questions today. Hopefully I can give some insight. We'll start off today by introducing our alumni that we have the pleasure of having here. So we have Claire, who is a 2015 grad. We have Jesse, a 2002 grad. We have Natcha, a 2019 grad, and then Max, a 2020 grad. So now I'll ask each of these alumni if they could please take a minute or two just to introduce themselves.
I can start. I'm Max. I'm originally from Aurora, Ontario, just a little bit north of Toronto. I'm just finishing up my last year of commerce. And for all of my co-ops, I've been doing tech startups, so working at small companies in the technology space. So if anyone has questions about that, I can answer that specifically.
I'll go next. My name is Natcha. I'm from Thailand. I'm calling from Halifax right now. My pronoun, I go by her/she. And for co-op, I work at Dow. I work at a golf course with Cabot Link as an accountant. And I also work at as a fund accountant at SS&C Technology. Right now, also a CPA articling student and about to take my CFE in September. So if anyone has any questions on that, you can ask me as well.
Jesse? No? Okay, I'll go. My name's Claire. I graduated from BComm in 2015 with a finance degree, but I'm actually working in marketing right now. I work for like a music festival organization, and I'm also doing an experiential marketing and event marketing agency that I'm just starting up right now. So any sort of marketing startup kind of questions, go ahead and give me a shout.
Okay, I'll go. So my name's Jesse, and I'm originally from Petal, Ontario, but I'm a military brat, so I moved around quite a bit. I first went to Halifax to play hockey. I played junior hockey there and fell in love with the city, as I'm sure most of you will. I spent the last 5 years at Dal, and I just graduated this year, I guess. So I'm part of the Corona graduate class. And then I graduated with a finance major, and I moved here to Toronto because I was supposed to start a job in financial advising with Scotiabank, but again, Corona had some different plans. But I then was able actually to secure an internship, so I'm actually moving again, and this time I'm going to Hong Kong. So some crazy things have happened, and but I'm excited to talk to you guys, and this be kind of the first point of your DAL experience.
Awesome, thank you guys. So next I'm gonna ask for each of our alumni to go just through a brief introduction of like their overall experience at Dalhousie and how it like helped their career path. So maybe we can go in the same order. If Max, you wanna start?
So like in terms of what I learned from being at school?
Yeah, your overall experience, or just like different things that helped you with your career path.
Okay, yeah, I can only speak for myself and from my experience, but funny enough, like the classes themselves weren't the most valuable thing for me. It was what happened around the classes and around school. So there were certain clubs like JDCC, which is a case competition commerce. I don't know if it's a management one too, but commerce case competition group. And it's essentially where you solve business problems pretty quickly over the span of like 3 hours, make a presentation, give that. And you meet a lot of really engaging, smart people who are doing that kind of stuff. And those are the kinds of things that I found the most value in terms of meeting people and meeting people who actually care about school, because you'll find surprisingly a lot of people like really don't care about school when they come here and they're just getting the credential and then getting out. And then co-ops. I think co-ops are so valuable in terms of not so much showing you what you want to do and what you are good at, but almost more valuable than that is showing you what you don't want to do and what you suck at and what you what you really don't want to take your path down. Because a lot of people who start like a job after school and they've never done a co-op in their life, or they've never had job experience, what they'll do is they will start a job thinking, oh, I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be in marketing, this is my thing. And then they get there, find out that, like, I don't want to do that. I thought I wanted to do that for 4 years. And then they have to jump ship, do something else while they still have to pay for rent, right? So co-ops was really nice in testing different things, 3 different things specifically. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
I guess I'm going next. So yeah, for me, it's definitely the co-op experience is very important. It's also learning how to write your resume and your cover letter. Like a lot of my friends who just graduated and never done that co-op, never have to go through the interview, what type of answer, what type of like question you're gonna be asked, what type of answer you should answer, and just writing in general. And again, with the co-op experience, it's also help you figure out the type of culture of the company you want, the type of job you want, the type of mentor you wish you have. And it just kind of like shape your experience. So like once you graduated, you have the expectation of what you want. And also throughout 3 of the co-op, you get to make connection with people who are like in an actual business world. And another thing with Dow is also that because I did accounting from Dow, and we have really, really good professor. So right now when I'm doing CPA, I'm so prepared. Like I'm more prepared than people who go to other university. Because Tammy was just kind of preparing me for like case writing, and again with what Max just said about doing case competition, that's really helped with like doing the presentation and analyzing the case. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
As for my time at Dal, loved it. I thought that the program, kind of what Max said, the classes were good, and if you went, very, very beneficial. And I kind of learned that later on, not going to class really helps. But I will say co-op program was super key. Going in, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, or kind of like what sort of organization I wanted to work at. So my first co-op, I worked at Manulife, and then my second one, I worked for more of like a small company. And then my third one, I worked at a startup in Toronto. You know, you get to experience lots of great stuff, lots of not so great stuff. And yeah, you figure out kind of what organization you thrive in, and that's how you move forward when you look for jobs after graduation. So that was really helpful. And I will say that the Commerce Society in particular did put on a lot of really good events to get to know your peers, and that definitely was like made it a lot more enjoyable, but also helped later on in making connections and yeah, just making the best of your university experience.
Awesome,
Yes.
thank you.
So for me, my, I guess, journey was a little different. I started at 21. Like I said, I played junior hockey, so I didn't come to school until I was 21. And I'm sure, well, like a couple of the other alumni members said, we weren't really exactly sure what we wanted. And you know, a lot of you are going to be fresh out of high school, so it's going to be the same idea. But I was the exact same way. I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I know is that I picked the commerce program because of the co-ops. And I will attest to, sorry for my cat here. I'll attest to Max's point. The co-ops to me were the most value I got from the co-ops were figuring out what I didn't want to do. So I get to school and I did well in like an accounting course. So I thought, hey, maybe I'll be an accountant. And then I took my first internship in an accounting role. I hated it. It was just, I knew right away it was not for me. And my next one was in with Deloitte in a finance, like the big firm, which was great. It was learning and stuff. But then my third one, I completely changed, and I went. It was almost like event managing. I worked with the junior team hosting the Memorial Cup, but the most valuable to me with school is just like everyone said, is that, you know, classes are one thing and you're going to learn, especially if you put the work in, but it's all the other stuff that comes with being in university. It's whether it's the clubs, it's whatever it is. And it's just meeting new friends, and you almost get a chance, especially for those of you coming out of university, especially those coming from far away. I see in the chat, a lot of you are going to be coming from quite far away. it's really a chance to like reinvent yourself and start to figure out who you want to be and what you want to be. You don't need to leave with the answer saying, I'm going to be a scientist, I'm going to be this. Because I mean, everyone I've talked to, they still are trying to figure out what they're trying to do. But at the end of the day, like, it's an opportunity for you. You're going to make a whole new friend group. You're going to get to experience the terrific city of Halifax to go to school in, which is so much fun. But for me, that was my favorite part. For so long, I was a hockey player, and that was really what I identified as. That's what I was. And then when I went to university, I just learned all these different things about myself and who I wanted to be and how I learned and just different things like that. So that was my experience at Dalhousie. Still not exactly sure what I'm going to do next, but it's such a great time. And already, you know, I just spent the last 5 years there, and I've only just graduated, but I can already tell I miss it. I miss the culture, the vibe, everything. You're going to have such a great time. I'm so excited for you guys.
All right, thank you, everyone. So now we're going to move on to questions that were submitted by the students. So we'll start off by, how does it feel to be a Dal graduate, and why did you choose Dal? So you guys
I'll have to pass. I'm not done yet.
I'll go ahead. Being a Dal graduate is incredible. Like I said before, the friendships that I've made and like the business connections have been like so good. And I really feel like, compared to some of my other friends who did commerce programs at Western and Queens, the tight-knit community of Dal has really carried through even after graduation, which has been really good. And why I chose Dal in the first place was I grew up in Toronto. I was kind of looking for some independence from my family. So Halifax was the furthest they let me go. So that's where I went. And just being by the ocean was amazing. But also I will say Halifax is super fun, and you get kind of the small town feel where you walk down the street and you see people that you know all the time. But it has like the big city amenities, which a lot of the university towns didn't really have. So yeah, that's very good.
Being the Dal grad feels really great, again, with the connection. Whenever you go to the social event, I remember trying to find a job in my 4th year, and that's like a connection, like networking event, and then just talking to people. And they were just like, oh, like, where are you from? Like, what school you go to? And I said, I'm graduating from Dal. And they all just like, oh, yeah, like, we went to Dal, like, ask about the prop, ask about what you learn. And everyone just kind of very, very nice. And it's great. And the reason why I chose Dal is definitely up the co-op program. So as I mentioned before, I'm from Thailand. I actually moved here when I was 16 years old. And it was through an exchange program, and I was in Yarmouth in Nova Scotia, which is in the middle of nowhere. And then I just kind of happened to like, I know that Dal had a good co-op program, and that's one thing that I really, really want to do. And then, so I decided to go to Dal, yeah.
Awesome, thank you guys. So the next question we have is, what are some business elective courses that you would recommend?
I guess I'll jump on this one. I think I didn't realize this until near the end of my academic career. A lot of times I just looked at, electives or as kind of what we call bird courses, just a way to boost the old GPA. But the one thing I learned about these electives is that the professors have a little bit more free reign to teach the way they want to teach and cover material they want to teach. So the truth is, I know it might sound cliche, I mean, there's probably so much information coming at you, but pick things that, I know everyone says pick things that you're interested in, but the truth is that, I did a course called New Venture Capital, for example, and it was just, our professor, she just had complete free reign over what she wanted to teach. And it was, every day we were talking about, relevant different things. And it was almost like an entertaining conference every, class to go to. And rather than taking courses just to boost your GPA, like, natural disasters or something like that. So that's what I would recommend. Definitely lean towards something you might think you're interested, or then even if you say, hey, this might be good, this might be bad, you really can't go wrong with that selection.
Yeah, I have something to add to that. So it's kind of a paradox. You think that if you take an easy course, you're going to get a good grade. That happens sometimes, but there is one course that is a trap for most people in first year, and it's called sustainability. And people are like, oh, I can get 2 credits. I can get 2 credits and with like 1 course, it's awesome. But what happens is that most people realize that they hate it, right? Some people love it, but most people realize that they hate it and then they have to drop it, find something else. So, and even though it might be easy, it might also be boring, right? And if it's like a boring and easy class, you're probably not going to do well in it anyways. That's what happened with me for a lot of courses. So it's yeah, like once you take classes that you have a curiosity about, you just have an inkling of, it's like, oh, something about that I like, even if it seems hard, if you're interested in it, it A, might be so interesting that you'll want to learn it and get better at it. And 2, that it might just be easy to understand because you like understanding it. So that's it. Don't take bird courses. It's kind of a trap.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I actually took natural disaster in my first year. And it was kind of easy, but like I'm just literally not interested in it. And so I minored in economics. So as a commerce student, you have to take micro and macro econ, and I just really like it. So I decided to like, oh, I'm going to minor in that. So most of my classes are econ class, which is kind of nice because it kind of helps you understand business and commerce from the other side. And one of my favorite classes is kind of hard, but I like law and economics, and it's literally just explain the law and then have like the economic side behind it of like, why are they doing this? Why is the punishment like this? So it's just very interesting to me. So yeah, like even though the class is hard, you're not alone. Like you're always gonna have a TA to help you for some classes. You're always gonna have a professor to like help you. Things I do a lot, even whenever I have questions, I would just email the prof right away and then they would just answer like within a day or 2. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Our next question is, are you working with a new company or one that you worked with in one of your co-op work terms?
I am. So there's an interesting idea about working with people that you've worked with before, and it's called like compounding benefits. So like when you work with somebody and you work well together, if you work well with them still, then just your working relationship and what you can do together is way better. So on my first co-op, I got an internship at a startup in Toronto. And then my manager there liked me. And then on my third co-op, she started one. And then she started her own company and then asked me to come on. And then that just made it so easy. I didn't even have to try and get a co-op for the third one. So I actually forget the question, but I mean, that's at least something you can learn, right? Build relationships in your co-ops. It's not, they're not wasteful. It's not like you're never going to see these people ever again. And relationships probably help you more than anything. That's with your fellow students or with people that you've worked with before. Like, it's pretty powerful and it can just make your life easier.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
That's okay. Okay. I'm just going to kind of go ahead and go on the flip side of what Max said. I am not like where I'm working now. I didn't do a co-op, but last year I hired a Dal co-op student to help me out in the summer. And we just formed a great relationship. And now that I'm starting my own marketing agency, I've reached out to her to hire her because we did form such a good relationship. So the co-op experiences are super valuable. Maybe you don't like what you're doing with them then, but you never know like what it can lead to. And like even a couple of my other co-ops, I like still keep in touch with and consider one of my bosses to be a really good mentor. So there's just a lot of opportunities that co-op can bring you. So.
Yeah, so the company that I'm working right now is not the company I did my co-op with, but I like to look at it as a stepping stone. So with my first co-op job, it's very hard for me to land one. I was so worried that I have to go back home to find a job because I don't have any Canadian experience. And so I landed a job in as like a marketing, like communication assistant at Dalhousie. And for my second co-op job, because I have the experience in Canada, I land an accounting job at Cape Breton, and then for my third co-op job, I get to work in Halifax at like a hedge fund company, which has kind of helped me to land the job right now, because the company that I'm working is BDO Cayman, and we basically auditing hedge fund captive insurance. And because I did a co-op job that has experience in that, it's very easy for me just to transfer like my knowledge and like my understanding of the industry and then get this job.
Awesome, thank you. So now we're gonna move just like quickly to answer some of the questions that were sent in the chat. The first one being, what did you guys find was the hardest part when preparing for your first co-op?
I can jump on this one if no one else wants to. I mean, kind of like what I said at the top, like, you know, the first co-op, it's just such a different experience, especially for a lot of you who, I mean, almost every one of us, very few of us have worked, you know, a job that isn't like a, you know, a retail or like a, you know, whatever. So the first time, I mean, I didn't even know how to get into the building. Like there was like this little key fob thing. I didn't know how to get in. I didn't know what time to show up. Like I just remember being so nervous. Like it felt like I was going to like a training camp, and you know, but at the end of the day, like they're going to realize that, you know, this is your first experience. This is a job for you. It's an internship. This is a learning experience. And if I've learned anything, it's that people really like to talk about themselves, and they like to, and if anything, they also like to help each other out. So, you know, you're going to get in and it's going to be nerve wracking, but I can't stress this enough. Like, don't be afraid to talk to your boss. Don't be afraid to talk to your coworkers or tell them, hey, listen, I don't know what I'm doing. So the first day of work, the first week of work, I showed up early one day because I didn't know when to go there, and I set the fire alarm off. Fire department had to show up, police showed up, the whole alarm, the whole building had to, the whole thing. I blew it big time. And I remember it just became this running joke. So I wouldn't recommend doing that, but at the end of the day, it's going to be nerve wracking and it's just going to be a giant learning curve. But again, you don't have to go in thinking that you're going to fix the company or, you know, start this or that. It's just one big giant opportunity to learn and to start to grow yourself. That's what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, to add to that, it's good to have this in mind. They're not hiring you, especially for your first co-op. No company is hiring you for your competence, right? Because like you probably don't have any work experience in the business area, right? They're just hiring you for potential. So having that framing in mind, showing that you have potential, not necessarily, I can solve all of your marketing problems, I can do marketing strategies. No one's expecting you to do that. Having that framing in mind is good. I like that. And also, read this book. This is the best preparation you can do before any co-op. This is the only preparation you have to do. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I know it's backwards, but it's just learning how to work with people and be someone that people can like. It helps.
Awesome, thank you guys. The next question we had was, what is the biggest advice when it comes to networking?
I would say just to, you know, be yourself. And I think sometimes like it's really hard when you get nervous and you just feel like, oh, I need to get the job. Like I need to impress them, when you actually like, it's both way, right? Like you get to know them and they get to know you. So I find that during my first networking experience, I'm very like, oh, please hire me. But then like, for like my last one where I met my employer through the networking event, and I just kind of like, instead of be like, oh, this is more about me, I just kind of asked about the company and asked like, what's the culture like? How many people? Do you guys like do any activity together? And then just kind of like, oh, like what's the job like? And then kind of like relate it back to your job experience that you did in co-op. And then you can always ask them, you can always ask for the business card, or give them your business card and then follow up on that if you're like interested in the job. And then when you're applying for the, like writing the cover letter and stuff, you can just always like, hey, like this is me, Natcha, I met you during the networking event. We talk about the job opportunity. So I want to like follow up on that. So yeah.
This is directly from the book, okay? Page 51, Principle 1. Become genuinely interested in other people. That is the best advice for networking. Like Jesse said, people love to talk about themselves, so get them talking about themselves. That's the best thing. Because people feel good when they talk about themselves, and then if people talk about themselves when they're with you, they'll feel good, and then they'll think back like, oh yeah, that guy or that girl, I really enjoyed talking to them. I just remember feeling good. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, and I'll also
Yeah,
say
my affiliate link's going to be in the chat for the book.
I also will say never underestimate like the power of a thank you after meeting them. Like even I've had like a couple coffees with people, and then sometimes they won't like send a note saying thank you, and it's just kind of like it takes 3 seconds to say, hey, thanks for meeting with me, it was great, and that goes a really long way. And also with networking, you don't have to network with someone because you want their job. Like, you know, like something that they can share might like click with you for something else, or they might know someone else. So it's always just best to just get out there and kind of do your thing.
Yeah, just really quick on that, just on to Claire's point, like that, to me, that's where I found my most value. Like sometimes you just think networking means you got to talk to the people you're trying to get the job with. The most value I ever got was one day I was interested, maybe I want to be a wealth manager. So I reached out, I just LinkedIn or whatever, you just email them, hey, listen, I'm interested, I want to know what you do. And they'll sit down with you, they'll chit chat. And then that just leads to it never has to, like, don't go in to just think I need to talk to this person because they're the ones who are going to hire me. Just say, I want to learn what they do. And then you say, oh, okay, well, that sounds awful, I'm not going to do that. Like, that to me is where I got the best value from networking.
Great, thank you, everyone. The next question we have is actually from an international student, and they want to know what it's like to be working in a completely different country and what your biggest barrier was and how you overcame it.
I like working in Canada more than in Thailand because people here is like the professionalism and how people like it's so respect, and men and women have equal chances at the job. But I think my biggest barrier is to get my foot in the door. Like I find it very hard for me to land my first co-op job because I don't have the like Canadian experience. And like when people call for reference, like I don't have any because they're all in Thailand. But sorry, I'm just kind of lost track of the question. But so how I overcome that? So basically, I go to a lot of networking events, or just like when I think MCS also hosts information. What did it call? Like an information like with Deloitte or like with other companies, so you get to know the company better. And I went to like the resume writing class, like that MCS hosts. I went to like the cover letter. I prepared, whenever I have an interview, I would go and schedule a meeting and then like go over the interview because I find that I got so nervous and I was like not being myself during the interview. So it's like just practice and don't be afraid to ask for help because it's okay. Like this is your first co-op job. This is your first like official job. It's going to be hard. So yeah.
Awesome. And I think you might be able to answer the next one too, because it's also from an international student, and they're just kind of wondering, what was it like for finding work? Like, were your opportunities limited, or did you find you were the same as the Canadian students? Like, did you find it was equal for everyone?
I think it's kind of harder for me. Just like going back to like, like the not having job experience in Canada. But I think once you like get your job in the interview and like people just look at what your experience, like going back to when Max was saying that they care about like what you're like, they don't expect you to solve every problem. But if you're, like a hardworking person, if you're like smart, like doesn't have to be, you don't need like a full GPA. Like you just need to have a good attitude. You have to be like positive. You have to be hardworking. Like once it comes to that, then they'll pick you and then you'll be a good candidate. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question is, how much do you use LinkedIn, and how did that like work out for you when you were in the program?
LinkedIn's good just for networking, right? It's a good follow-up site. So if you met someone networking, instead of emailing them, especially if you didn't get their email, you can just search them based on the company they work at and then their name, whatever. And then you can message them and then they can see your face and all that. So it's good for that. I don't use it like to look at content or anything, but it's a good resource for sure, especially for trying to find people that you want to connect with. Because you like the specialization in the search is crazy. It's not like Google where you just type something in. You can say, okay, I want someone in this location who went to Dalhousie, who's at this company, or who was at this company before, who is in this position, da 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 da. And there's like a second, first, third connection. So yeah, it's good for research for sure.
Claire, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say on this. Starting your own network or your marketing agency. You're probably the resident expert on this call.
I don't think so. There's a reason I didn't jump out and answer this question, probably because my LinkedIn skills should be a little bit better. I'd say in terms of networking, I've more relied on word of mouth and like connecting with people in real life versus on LinkedIn. But I realized that I should probably change that. So
yeah, might as well make a LinkedIn account just for everybody. It's worth it. And it's just another point of reference on the internet for you, right? Yeah. Uh-oh, where did Katie go?
Did we lost our host?
yeah, I was wondering.
Okay, so I'll pop in here. Hi, folks. For those students that are out there, my name is Lori Bald, and I am actually the alumni officer. So I will pop in here. I used to work with many of the students that are on this panel, so I'm very glad that they're back supporting us in this fashion. But maybe could you guys talk about how did you, because I know you talked a little bit about the fact that you come with different struggles, there's different things, there's a lot of demands on your time. What were some things that you did specifically outside your academics that helped you become part of the community at Dal? And especially this is going to be really important for the students as for the potential, at least the next term, they are going to be online and maybe into the winter term. But what were some things that you did to make sure that you could become part of the community, that you could help build your network and develop those skills that are necessary and important to the employers for your co-ops? And Max, you're shaking your head. So and I know what you've been involved in a few things, so I'm going to let you go first.
The biggest one is JDCC. Oh, I think someone has something playing in the background. Oh, that's me. Sorry.
Explain what JDCC is, Max.
Okay, JDCC, for those of you who don't know, it's a case competition team. So a case competition is you get in a group of 3, and then you go into a room for 3 hours with one computer, no internet access. You get a case, which is just a situation of a company, and you read through it and there's numbers. And then you have to identify what the problem is for the company, come up with a solution, put a PowerPoint together, and at the end of the 3 hours, you give a 20-minute presentation to a panel of judges who are sometimes from the company. So it sounds scary, and it is, but it's probably the best extracurricular thing I did. My public speaking skills exploded, and very quickly. Probably in the span of 2 months, I went from being not very good at public speaking to being very good at public speaking, just from practicing. But what's more than that, yeah, JDCC is similar to DECA for the person who said it in the chat. But DECA, I think you have like 15 minutes to try and figure something out and then 5 minutes to communicate it. This one's a lot more longer and strategic. It's a lot more about working with other people as well. So yeah, if you like DECA, you definitely like JDC. But the biggest thing, like I said in the answer to the first question, is the people that you meet. So what it does is it puts you in one place with the most involved people who want to get better as well. So you immediately get a built-in community of people that have a similar interest to you, who are probably smart, outgoing. So that's, I think, where I've met 80% of my friends. And I met my best friend there. Like, I didn't really have a best friend for the first couple of years. And then I met this one guy, and I wouldn't have if it wasn't for JDC. So it's amazing. I know you can't do it next year or next semester, but something similar to JDCC when you can, so valuable.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry, I got cut out of the chat for a second, or the call, but I'm back in now. I think it's all good. The next question we had, I think it's the most recent one we had asked by a student, was any advice for online courses and what you would recommend for staying on top of things?
I can touch on that one. I think, I mean, it's certainly, you guys coming into this is certainly going to be a challenge, I think, and I know the university is going to be sorting some stuff out. But if you think about it, the whole world's kind of doing this right now. The whole world has made a transition to working from home, and so these are skills that are going to be, you know, good to develop, and it's certainly not easy. I think, I mean, the one thing is you gotta just have a set schedule. I've taken a few online courses, and when I took Finance 1, I was doing really well up until the midterm. I did the midterm, did really well. I said, oh geez, I'm getting this. Maybe I'll put this on the back burner for a bit. Next thing I know, the final comes around, and yeah, it didn't go so well. So it's certainly a challenge, I think, especially with moving fully online. It's going to be different, and I know Lori and all their team are working extremely hard to try to make it feel a lot more than just sitting on your computer every day. But it's going to be a challenge. But at the end of the day, my cat's going absolutely crazy back there. At the end of the day, it's just about finding a schedule, sticking to it, and and that's, you are going to be the trailblazers with this. You're going to be the kind of the test drivers on this whole thing.
Yeah, so just to touch on that, it's already hard enough to do a transition between high school to university, and to do university online, it's even harder. What I find that's really helped me is basically I have an agenda. So like once you get the syllabus, I just wrote down the date of the assignment, because the schedule is really weird. So basically I wrote down like every classes, what assignment I need. So at least like you can look at it and see, all right, next week I have 2 assignments due. So if I can finish it this week, maybe I can go out or like relax more of it. So not like going out because quarantine, but yeah. So yeah, that would help, like make a schedule, list out like what assignment that needs to be done. So that way you're not like pulling an all-nighter in the end.
Awesome. Thank you. The next question we have is, did you know what you wanted to major in when you came into university, or what type of career you wanted, and did that change?
I guess I can touch on this one. I mean, I kind of answered this when I first came, but that's the value of Dal and with the co-ops. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just wanted to play hockey. I came to Dal, played hockey. Kind of on Max's point and Laura's question too, it's also another reason why to join these clubs and do these things, because again, you just get more exposure to what you want to do. But like I said, I took an accounting course and I did well in it. So I was like, maybe I'll be an accountant, and hated it. And then, but when I chose my major in finance, like it's just something I was interested in, I was passionate, and I wasn't even doing that well. Like, so in order to major in finance, you have to, I can't remember the exact requirements. We have to have a certain grade between Finance 1 and Finance 2, and I didn't have it. So I had to, so during my co-op at Deloitte, I found a guy and I just said, hey, can you help me with this? And I studied for this like test to get in. But no, to answer your question, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just picked commerce because the co-ops, and I went from there. But slowly you'll start to kind of narrow down your field. And I mean, even if Claire's anything, she went to finance and now she's starting a marketing agency. So it doesn't put you into this box. It's like you get this knowledge base, and then you take that into whatever you want to do next. So I don't be too scared of picking your major. I think I picked it in my last year. Lori was all over me to pick one, but I didn't pick it till late. So
yeah, I'll just kind of Oh, sorry, Max, do you want to go ahead?
But I was just about to say, don't worry, I never picked a major.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, and like I did finance and I ended up doing marketing. But I will say, like, no matter it, like I guess with accounting, it is very specialized and you need certain classes for your CPA. But I will say, like, a lot of the stuff I learned in finance is still super valuable for everything that I'm doing now. So just because you specialize or major in one thing, it doesn't mean that what you learn there will be useless if you choose a different field. So yeah.
Yeah, so at first when I come to Dow, I thought that I want to major in international business, and then I take an accounting class and I like it. So I just keep going at it. And also, like, the reason why I choose accounting is because the potential of what you can do after. So if I get the CPA, then I will be like more confident and I can do like be like an account manager, or I can like be a CEO, CFO, not that it's there, but it's like make you more qualified for the job, which is why I'm doing it right now. Yeah.
Can you remind me of the question real quick, Katie?
That one was just about, like, did you know what major you wanted to choose when you were going into school, and like, did that change or something along those lines of just, did you have a change of thought like going into this program?
Yeah. So I'm kind of different from a lot. I actually knew I had an idea of what I wanted to do. Like, I like technology and I like marketing, so I wanted to do that. And this might be like a good series of questions to ask yourself, just to vet out maybe what careers you definitely don't want to do, even without doing any of them. So the first one is, do you get excited by the idea of working with people all day? Because there are some jobs where you are working with people all the time and that is the core of your job. And there's other ones where you are working with people, but most of the time you're just have your head down doing your work. So it's like a lawyer, a programmer would be like probably one of those, or even not particularly someone doing with numbers, because accountants, like, it's mostly communication all the time. But then there's ones that like marketing, right? It's a lot more people focused. And I know some people get drained by doing something like that, or by doing work that's more creative. So that's a question that you can ask yourself. I don't know if that'll help or not, but it helped me at least say, because if you can figure that question out, it literally cuts half the jobs out. You don't even have to think about it. Yeah.
One thing that's really good, sorry, is that you don't have your major until second year of university. And throughout that time, you get to like take finance, you get to take accounting, you get to take marketing. So that way you know what you want more.
Yeah. And also, don't feel like you need to do a major if you're not interested in anything. So I didn't want to do any of the majors. I like marketing, but I didn't like any of the marketing classes. Like, I don't want to deal with numbers. Nothing really spoke to me. And this is like 4 months ago. So I said, okay, well, maybe there's a different path for me. And so I just decided to not major in anything. And there's nothing wrong with that, because unless you need specifically to have a CPA or have an accounting degree, if you want to work for like PwC or something like that, you don't really need a major, right? Like in Claire's case, right? She had finance, that didn't bar her from doing marketing, right? So yeah. Don't feel like you're, like Jesse said, don't feel like you need to be put in a box, because it's a lot more flexible than you think.
Awesome. So the next question we have is, what did you guys find was your best strategy for finding employment?
I can hop on this one. I just graduated, and I kind of, the moral of, I guess, my story is I had no idea what I wanted to do, and it got to a point where I think it was January of this year. We're getting near graduation, and some of my peers are getting jobs or they're applying, and I started to panic. I said, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do, or where I want to be, what all this stuff. So Shelly in the is she in the academic? She's in the MCS office, right? Shelly. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, she is. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So this is probably my best advice I can give you. Is at Dal, we're lucky. We have this. It's like this unique thing that we have. It's there's academic advising, but there's also this career services office. And Shelly, she worked there. She was awesome. I went to her and I just panicked. I showed up I brought 2 coffees in because I didn't even make an appointment. I wasn't really familiar with this service until my last year, which is unfortunate. But I walked in, I panicked. I said, Shelly, I'm graduating soon and I don't even know what to do. How do I even apply? Like, where do I apply? I would have blah, 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 blah. And she said, okay, relax, sit down. And she helped me. She walked me kind of through the process. Okay. She gave me some resources to start to read. Okay, this is what this, and if you're interested in capital markets, we'll read about this. And then she really kind of almost acted as like a guide or almost like a shepherd, I guess. Like, she was so fantastic. And that is without a doubt my best advice, is to really utilize that. I should have utilized it earlier, but she was great. And they're not going to just get a job for you. Like, you have to put the work in, but she was so fantastic, and she was awesome through the whole way. And the amount of questions I just sent her, she was fantastic. That, without a doubt, is my best advice. Utilize that tool and those tools at Dal for sure.
Yeah, I feel like with what Jesse just said, I totally agree with my career services. Like, they helped me so much throughout, like from my first co-op job to like my landing the job here. I got the job through the networking event, just to like go talk to people and see what the company like. And then they recognized me, and the guy, my manager right now, was just like, you should apply for the job. So I did. And he emailed me right away and just said like, oh, like we like set up the interview dates and stuff. So yeah.
So, and the question was about, like, how did you find your first co-op?
Yeah, or just what was your like best strategy for finding any like co-ops or?
Yeah, talk to people you know. So that's how I got all of my co-ops. I never used the MCS job board. It was only through people that I knew. And and this is going to be another plug for JDC. Like, this is a perfect example. I joined JDC on my first year, and I met somebody on that who just finished her first co-op. And I said, oh, that sounds interesting. I'd like to learn more about it. Can I talk to the person that you worked with before? She said, sure, yeah, why not? And then I talked to the person, and I ended up getting a job, but pretty much just from knowing someone who was there, right? And it just removes so many barriers, because when you're just applying for a job on a website, there's no pre-context, right? They have no idea who you are. But if it's through someone else that they know, then they say, okay, like Max has, I don't know, Georgia's endorsement. And now, like, I have a bit of a cosign almost with her. So yeah, it just makes it so much easier to get jobs through your network. And you might not think you have a network, but you have parents probably, and then they probably know people, or you probably know other people that know people. Like, there's always somebody. I think there's a quote, it's like Obama is 6 degrees of connection away from anybody in the world, right? Like, you'll know someone who knows someone, and that goes on 6 times until there's Obama, right? So you can pretty much get in touch with anyone you want if you ask enough. That's it.
Awesome. We got another question in the chat, and it was, is it difficult to get co-ops in the US? I'm not sure if anyone did co-ops in a different country, but maybe just any advice you might have about that.
I don't know.
Maybe Lori, like, you can touch on that, like, about, I don't know. I don't even know anyone who did one in the US. I don't know if there's rules or something, but.
Yep, so all jobs have to be approved through the Management Career Services Office. They will be the folks that will help manage your co-op and the program and all the requirements for that. So it really depends on where someone is looking for. So if you're from the US and you're looking for jobs back there, we would probably suggest that you utilize your network more so than finding jobs in the US. But that's where, as Jesse said, and Natcha, building those relationships with the team in Management Career Services, they will be the best ones to help guide you through finding a job opportunity that's located in any area that you're looking for, whether it be in the US, whether that be in Dubai, whether that be in Mahone Bay. They will be the ones that will help guide you through that process. Nothing is impossible, but we want to make sure that you're given the right information, and those folks will be the best guides for you throughout that whole process.
Great. Thank you, Lori, for that. So before we wrap things up, I just want to see if there's any more questions that anyone wants to send in the chat just before we finish things off. All right, so I guess now I'll just ask, oh, yeah, Max?
Yeah, no, sorry, you go. I think you're going the same direction.
Yeah, I was just, for closing, I'm gonna ask each of the alum if they could maybe give their like one tip that they would give incoming students or just current students right now, or what is your biggest tip that you wanna like leave with everyone?
Yeah, get as much responsibility as possible. That's it. Like not necessarily what you learn in school matters, but it's what happens at school, right? And you learn the most when you get the most responsibility. That's why I love startups so much, because you have a lot of responsibility by necessity, right? They can only, like the CEO can only do so much. And if you're the next person, then you have a lot to do. And you'll definitely get more responsibility than you should, but you grow so much more from that. So, and then to tag along with that, at least do one startup or do one co-op at a company that's 10 people or less. That's it, at least one.
For me, I guess would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, you're not in this alone. You're like at Dalhousie, you have a really, really great community. You have MCS to help you. You have the professor who's always there to help you. Even when you're working, you can always ask for help. So yeah, that's for me.
I would say for me, go to class. It sounds kind of silly because it's so much easier to learn the content by sitting. And even though you have kind of this independence where you don't have to go, you should go, because not only will it be easier to learn the things, but you'll develop relationships with professors that'll lead to a lot of other things. And then like the friends that you'll bring or that you'll kind of meet and the networks that you'll create through going to class and through doing group projects and kind of doing that kind of stuff is really valuable. So don't underestimate skipping class or going to class. Don't skip.
Yeah, so I mean, same advice that everyone else said, but for me, there's really kind of two key things. And the first one is get involved. Just get involved with the school in some aspect. You don't have to do everything, just get involved. My first 2 years at Dal, I was just on the hockey team. I'd go to class, I'd skip a class here and there. I didn't really feel a part of it. And then I wanted to change that. And I slowly started by, I just became a member of things like the Investment Society. And then I became a member of the varsity athletics student council, and then it just kind of slowly started. Then I started to get to know my classmates, and then my experience just completely shifted, and that was after about 3 years of already being there. So really get involved in the school, and then you just, like I said at the top of the hour or top of the meeting, like you just really get to experience who you want to be. And number two, just like Claire said, I was a kind of student that would just get by. Like I said, I was there to play hockey and whatever. I would just get by. But once I made the commitment, I started to go to class, and my grades really changed. That without a doubt is it. And then at the end, just remember what it's all for, why you're doing all this, because you're going to get one of these cool flags, and you're going to end with one of these, hopefully. So hopefully yours doesn't show up in the mail, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all for. And I can't wait for you guys to experience Halifax. If you're not from there, it's a load of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you to the panel for answering all the questions. I know we all really appreciate you guys being here and helping us out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Also, one more thing: if anyone was too nervous to ask a question on here, you can feel free to message me on LinkedIn, and I'll answer any question you want if I can.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. We really appreciate having you all here, and can't wait for you guys to come to Dal if you're not already here. And if you see me around in the row, well, come say hi.